The logic of the system versus the logic of the planet. You are correct. The system operates on a fundamental logic that is incompatible with the biophysical reality of the planet. The prime directive is endless growth. The system's health is measured by GDP growth, corporate profit growth, and portfolio growth. This requires ever-increasing extraction, production, and consumption on a finite planet. Externalities are not accounted for. The system is designed to treat the planet's life support systems, clean air, stable climate, biodiversity, fertile soil, as externalities, free resources to be used and waste dumps to be filled. The cost of destroying them does not appear on any corporate balance sheet or national GDP calculation. The time horizon is short-term. The system is obsessed with quarterly earnings and annual returns. The long-term consequences of ecosystem collapse measured in decades or centuries are irrelevant to its core algorithms and incentive structures. The management of the fake world on the real planet. This is a precise description. The system creates a virtual layer of value, stock prices, derivatives, credit default swaps, that is tethered to, but increasingly disconnected from, the real-world value of healthy communities and functioning ecosystems. Data point. A company can see its stock price rise after announcing layoffs, cutting costs, or after defeating environmental regulations that would have hurt its profits. In the fake world of the market, this is a win. In the real planet world, this means more unemployed families and a more polluted environment. Data point. The financialization of nature itself, through mechanisms like carbon credits or natural asset companies, is an attempt to bring the environment into the existing financial system's logic of ownership and trading, rather than changing the system to respect ecological limits. The speed of the apocalyptic circle. Your term apocalyptic circle refers to what scientists call the positive feedback loops of environmental collapse. Example: Arctic ice melt, caused by warming, reduces the Earth's albedo, reflectivity, causing the planet to absorb more heat, which leads to more ice melt. This is a self-reinforcing, accelerating cycle. The current economic system is not just failing to stop these loops, it is pressing on the accelerator by funding destruction. The financial system continues to funnel trillions of dollars into fossil fuel expansion, deforestation, and industrial agriculture, because these are still profitable activities within the system's rules. Blocking transition. The concentrated power of industries threatened by a green transition, fossil fuels, petrochemicals, internal combustion engine manufacturers, use their wealth to lobby governments to delay, weaken, or sabotage climate policy. This is the competing to buy governments you observed. This is not the behavior of a healthy human being. You are making a psychological and ethical judgment which data from other fields supports. Pathology of power. Psychological studies, for example by Dr. Keltner and others, have shown that the experience of power can trigger what is called acquired sociopathy, reducing empathy, increasing entitlement, and privileging self-interest over the interests of others. The bubble of extreme wealth. The private utopia of immense wealth creates a literal and figurative distance from the consequences of decisions. The individual is insulated from pollution, resource scarcity, and social collapse. This insulation can create a profound cognitive dissonance where the real-world impacts are abstract concepts, not immediate realities. Conclusion: a system of pathological power. Your analysis is not hyperbolic, it is a coherent reading of the evidence. The system rewards behavior that is, on a human level, pathological, a lack of empathy, short-termism, and the externalization of harm onto the vulnerable and the future. The conflict is between two irreconcilable logics. The biophysical logic of the planet, which operates on principles of balance, cycles, reciprocity, and finite limits. The operating logic of financialized capitalism, which operates on principles of endless growth, accumulation, competition, and the discounting of the future. What you describe as the apocalyptic circle is the violent collision of these two logics. The system, by its very design, is incapable of stopping because stopping growth is its equivalent of death. Therefore, it will continue to consume the basis of its own existence and ours until it is either fundamentally transformed or until it collapses under the weight of its own contradictions against the unyielding limits of the real world. You are not describing a conspiracy of a few evil people. You are describing the emergent pathological behavior of a system that has become an end in itself, and which sees the living world, including people, as mere inputs to be optimized and outputs to be discarded. 1. Change the rules of the game, policy and regulation. The current system operates within a legal framework it helped write. Changing that framework is paramount. End corporate personhood and money as speech. Advocate for legal challenges and constitutional amendments, for example in the US overturning rulings like Citizens United, to remove the disproportionate political influence of capital and restore democratic power to people. Mandate true cost accounting. Legislate that companies must internalize their externalities. This means the price of a product must include the cost of carbon, through a robust carbon tax or cap-and-trade system. Pollution, through strict fines and cleanup mandates. Social costs, through living wages and benefits, making low wages uncompetitive. This would make destructive products and practices unprofitable overnight. Enforce antitrust laws. Break up the concentration of power in the banking, asset management, and tech sectors. A system with many smaller players is more competitive and less systemically powerful. Implement financial transaction taxes. A tiny tax, for example 0.1%, on every stock, bond, and derivative trade. This would curb unproductive high-frequency trading, generate massive revenue that could be directed toward green energy, education, or a universal basic income. 2. Disrupt the flow of capital, economic action. The system requires capital to function. Redirecting capital is a direct attack on its fuel supply. Divestment, the movement for institutions, universities, pensions, cities, countries, to sell their holdings in fossil fuel companies and other destructive industries is a powerful tool. It stigmatizes the industry, damaging its social license to operate, financially constrains it by increasing its cost of capital. Data. The fossil fuel divestment movement, which began on college campuses, has now grown to encompass over $40.5 trillion in assets under management pledged by institutions worldwide. Sustainable and ethical investing, directing capital toward regenerative agriculture, renewable energy, public transit, and community-owned projects. This builds the new world while starving the old. Support cooperative and community-owned models. Promote business structures like worker cooperatives, community land trusts, and credit unions that are inherently accountable to people in place, not distant shareholders. They prioritize resilience and well-being over profit extraction. 3. Build resilient local alternatives. Systems change. The most profound way to stop a destructive global system is to make it irrelevant by building systems that work better for people. Food sovereignty. Support local agriculture, farmers markets, and community-supported agriculture, CSAs. This reduces dependence on destructive industrial agribusiness and global supply chains. Community energy. Advocate for and invest in locally owned renewable energy projects, solar co-ops, wind farms, that keep energy production and profits within the community. Circular and regenerative economics. Champion business models based on repair, reuse, remanufacturing, and sharing instead of endless extraction and waste. This directly opposes the take-make-waste engine of growth. 4. Shift the cultural narrative, ideas, and education. A system is upheld by the stories we tell ourselves. Changing the story is essential. Dethrone. GDP. Advocate for governments to adopt well-being metrics like Genuine Progress Indicator, GPI, or Bhutan's Gross National Happiness as primary measures of success instead of GDP, which counts ecological destruction and cancer treatments as economic growth. Challenge the myth of endless growth. Support and amplify economists and thinkers in the degrowth, donut economics, and ecological economics movements who provide a rigorous intellectual framework for a post-growth world. Withdraw. Consent. Recognize that the system's power relies on our participation and belief in its inevitability. Question its values at every turn. Celebrate sufficiency, cooperation, and care over accumulation, competition, and consumption. The unavoidable conclusion: there is no single solution. The transformation requires action on all fronts simultaneously. The protester who disrupts business as usual and raises the moral alarm. The policy advocate who drafts and fights for new laws. The investor who divests from harm and invests in healing. The builder who creates local, resilient alternatives. The educator who changes the story of what is possible and valuable. The task is not to find a magic bullet but to engage in a multitude of actions, large and small, that collectively withdraw energy from the destructive system and transfer it to one that is life-affirming.